Hello, everyone. This is Faheem Jackson, and this is episode 94 of my podcast show, In the Know. This podcast is aimed at trying to guide people through the world with a variety of topics. I am also using this platform to ask questions and try my best to answer these questions with my viewpoints of the world around me. The following episode introduction speech is for the topic of today, and the introduction speech is regarding the last deadly sin. What is wrath? Have you ever been so mad that you had this uncontrollable rage? I am talking about the type of rage that doesn't make sense. The rage you get, and eventually enough time goes by, and you can't even remember why you were so mad to begin with. I guess this is why there is almost a satirical connection to wrath, because on a normal daily basis, why would anyone get this upset about nothing? But I have been this upset, where I've been on a subway train and someone stood in front of me, annoying me. After they got off, I was so enraged, all these thoughts started to go through my mind. And by the end of the day, I don't even know why, but this moment ruined my day. This is strange, but how does it creep into the mind of a person? I am able to control my anger. What about the people who react in the moment? These are people who are walking wraths. You just act without thinking. They usually find themselves in legal trouble, then thinking, what the hell did I get myself into later? So as you can see, it's easy for someone to get enraged for nothing and find yourself with a problem you can't remedy later. So a short answer to any question regarding wrath: check yourself and your energy, because it could land you in a world of trouble. But if I may, I would detail more on the true meaning of wrath. What is wrath? The definition of wrath is extreme rage or anger, a person with a strong vengeful and indignation feeling. Well, where does this feeling of such rage stem from within the human mind? It comes from a very natural feeling, actually. A very nature of a human species is to be aggressive. So what do you expect when such rage is known to flare up? This rage was placed in us over hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, which actually aided in our ability to survive and defend ourselves. Now it comes out at times in random moments, as with the example I gave in the introduction speech about myself in a subway train. The upside of today that is different from our past human ancestors is that we have more control over our emotions. The past, or should I say, the earliest of humans, just did what nature told them to do. That is until we developed more of an understanding for logic and reasoning. After the logic and reasoning came into hold, then we understood that, maybe going off the rails is not always the best route to go. Yet is it always human nature that makes us tick? Sometimes there are other factors that contribute to the person going into that wrath space. How about a person who walks around with nothing to lose mentality? This person could be dealing with something economic, mental, emotional, or a physical ailment. And we know these people have a short fuse, so we've learned to beware. With this said, let me tell you a story of wrath. See, Jake is an unemployed construction worker who has been out of work for the past 3 months. And on top of it all, he is one of these people who tends to be very overly upset at just about anything that crosses his path. If someone's dog is peeing on the ground, he'll immediately scream at the owner about curbing their pet. Someone sits next to him on a train with open seats nearby, he flips out on a person about sitting so close. So eventually what happened to him is that he met his match. A man with an equally aggressive attitude came across Jake. Jake was then put into a position where now he had to take that stand. And the last thing you as a man want to do is find yourself in a position where things could turn violent, especially with the man who cares less than yourself. Here's where For the first time in Jake's life, he had no choice but to back away. Seeing the man reach into his pocket clutching onto something that appeared from outside to be a weapon made Jake pause. Now, whether it was a weapon or not, taking that chance was still something he did not want to do. So Jake waited until the man's anger passed and decided to go on about his daily way. Luckily, that man did not lash out and hurt him. But as men especially, we have to learn that uncontrolled anger is not always the route to go. Because everyone you explode on won't walk away calmly. Some people might just give you the energy you give them. What are the effects this has on a person? What happens when you're one of these people who have the wrath within you? Well, what happens eventually is the results of what took place with Jake in my story above. Someone will come in contact with you who has nothing to lose mentally, who will test your level of rage. Jake had explosive anger, but the man he came across proved to be carrying a weapon and was not afraid to use this weapon either. And because this violence is lurking, you have to keep yourself in check. The other reason why you should not walk around with this uncontrolled rage is that people will quickly learn that this is how you carry yourself and will learn to distance themselves from you. No one wants to be around someone who is angry 24 hours a day, nor do anyone want to be around the person who can explode at any moment. And the effects that this has on society? When you're a person who is known to explode, your impacts on society become a lot more pronounced. People will not only stay clear of this person, but society will learn to label this person as problematic. You are listed by society as a burden because your potential is to ruin someone else's day as well. Imagine your day is going just fine. Then here comes this menacing person who cannot control their rage. Now when they leave your presence, they have effectively made you upset in the process. Now you're not one of these explosive people. And here's where the man or woman in society becomes irritated since rage is your thing. Now, you have to take yourself out of your element so you don't come across as a pushover. As far as a sin, I consider this one a voluntary sin. Your anger is something that is a natural reaction, but the output of the rage is very voluntary. You have to learn how to keep that composure. Otherwise, you find yourself in a position like Jake in the story. He was rageful, but then he came across a man who was worse than himself. And this is why the voluntary sin has to be put into check. Now, a lot of people who fall under this category will tell you it is close to impossible to control their rage. To me, I listen to this and say, you better learn how to control it. Because besides running into a bad people, you will have legal trouble and lose out on a lot of opportunities as well, work-related. And with this end statement, while we have to understand wrath as a sin, see, when you have this crazy aggression, people will learn to push away from you. The unwanted attention you bring to yourself is something that will attract people with the same mind frame. As with the story I told earlier, you will eventually come across a person as bad as you are, if not worse. Then you find yourself in a precarious situation. So you have to have more constraint over your mind. That irrational rage has to be kept under wraps. So the sin that sends you on a downward spiral must be acknowledged and halted. Because this be the thing that leads to your demise. So, thanks for listening to In the Know. I'll be bringing you another episode regarding religion. The topic will be asking the question, how did God put everything in its place?